a letter on the meekness that breaks and the mercy that restores. Beloved brethren, when I was at the gathering in Robertson, a heaviness of spirit came upon me. Anger rose within me because of the foolishness of men, and I withdrew to the cross to be still before the Lord. There I asked, saying, How could a man like Moses, who grew angry before the people, still be called the meekest man upon the earth? And the Lord answered within me, saying, Meekness is not the absence of strength, but the surrender of strength to my will. It is not weakness, but obedience under pressure, not silence, but the bridling of passion by love. When Moses descended from the mountain and saw Israel dancing before the golden calf, his heart was torn between holiness and mercy. In his hands were the tablets of the covenant, written by the very finger of God, yet before him stood a nation that had already broken it. Had he laid those tablets before them, the law itself would have condemned them, and the fire of God would have consumed them. Therefore Moses cast the tablets down and broke them beneath the mount, not out of rebellion, but out of intercession. The breaking was not the act of an angry man, but of a mediator who stood between heaven's justice and man's sin. He shattered the written law to shield the living people. Judgment was restrained that mercy might speak. And in this his meekness was revealed. For meekness is not weakness of will, but strength held under God's command. It is the power to destroy, yet the will to preserve. It is fire submitted to holiness, the flame that chooses to purify rather than consume. Moses had authority to strike, but he chose instead to fall upon his face in prayer. He broke the tablets not to hide sin, but to reveal the heart of God beyond the letter of the law. In that act, the Spirit of Christ was foreshadowed. For even then God showed that he did not come to destroy lives, but to save them. Mercy triumphed over judgment. For those who sinned without the law perished without the law, and those who sinned under the law were judged by it. Yet God, being rich in mercy, delayed his wrath that grace might abound. The fire that once consumed was turned to light, and the hand that wrote upon stone would one day write upon hearts, not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. For the Lord has always desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of himself rather than burnt offerings. The law made sin known, but grace came, that sin might lose its dominion. Then I understood. Meekness is not the absence of passion, but the surrender of it to God. It is not the silence of apathy, but the obedience that yields to his Spirit. Moses carried both the rod of power and the heart of compassion, and in that balance mercy overcame wrath. Though the people had corrupted themselves, Moses stood in the breach and pleaded, saying, If you will forgive their sin, and if not, blot me out of your book. In that cry, the mystery of Christ was revealed before the cross was ever lifted. For the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world had already placed his heart within his servant. And now we see its fulfillment in Jesus Christ. As Moses broke the tablets to preserve a people under wrath, so Christ broke his own body to redeem a people bound by sin. The one shattered the covenant of stone to stay judgment, the other established a covenant of spirit to bring salvation. Moses stood between God and man for a nation. Christ stands between God and mankind for all creation. The breaking of the tablets was the foreshadow of the greater covenant. For the covenant of stone, though holy and just, could not give life. It revealed sin, but could not remove it. It showed the will of God, yet could not change the heart of man. Therefore, what was written on tablets of stone had to be broken, that it might give way to what would be written upon hearts of flesh. As the fragments of the first covenant fell at the foot of the mountain, the pattern of redemption was revealed, that something formed by God must be broken before grace could begin. So also Christ, the Word made flesh, was broken that the covenant of the Spirit might be established. The law demanded righteousness from man. Grace imparted righteousness from God. Moses broke the tablets to preserve a people under wrath, but Christ broke his own body to redeem a people bound by sin. The one shattered the symbol, the other fulfilled its meaning. The first covenant condemned the guilty. The second restores the fallen. The first was written by the finger of God upon stone. The second, by the Spirit of God upon human hearts. Thus the breaking was not the end, but the beginning, the passing of shadow into substance, of command into communion, of law into life. For what Moses did in part, Christ has fulfilled in full. Where the servant interceded for the guilty, the Son died for the ungodly. The law written on stone condemned, but the Word made flesh restores. The same hand that once inscribed judgment now writes grace upon the hearts of men. For what was once a ministry of death has become a ministry of life. The letter that killed has given way to the Spirit that gives life. Therefore, beloved, understand this. Meekness is not the absence of fire, but the willingness to let God's fire burn wholly within you. It is the refusal to let anger outrun love. For he who is truly meek is not without strength, but his strength bows before heaven. So when anger rises in you, do not despise the breaking. Sometimes God allows what is in your hands to be broken, so that what is in his heart may be revealed. The breaking of the tablets was not the end of covenant, but the beginning of grace. The stones were shattered, but the word endured. Wrath flared, but mercy prevailed. For the same Christ who afflicted Moses afflicts us still, not to destroy, but to plead for life. He stands even now between the justice of heaven and the frailty of men, making intercession for us. And each time mercy triumphs over judgment, the heart of God is revealed again. Therefore, beloved, let your strength be governed by mercy, and your zeal be tempered by love. For the cross remains forever the meeting place of justice and peace, where wrath was satisfied by the mercy we did not earn. There, every law that condemned us was broken, and every grace that redeems us was born. From the Shepherd's Dog.